Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
Welcome back to part 2 with Mike Messer. What a wild ride. His project, Adoraborealis, is really something special. We do a deep dive into his music and his process. It was really intriguing, and I know you're going to find it fascinating. Let's join the conversation. I was doing this fantastic lead into Common Man. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about it, and we'll let the audience have a listen to it, Mike.
Common Man's a pretty interesting song to me. It came out of the songwriting crew, and I think the prompt for that was to take a melody or abstract a melody from.
Well, let me stop you there, because I'm really interested in this songwriting round. If we can just go off on a tangent with that is. So does somebody act as a moderator, or do you have like cue cards that go, oh, let's do this now? Like
this one is.
How does it happen?
I guess they're all different, but the way that we do it is we've been doing it.
And how many people?
Usually 5, maybe 6.
Okay.
All
right.
It's too. But at that point, it becomes too many. There's too much stuff going on.
Right. It's like herding cats.
No, not so much that. It's just that there's so much time. Because we'll listen to a song. We'll really talk.
Oh, okay.
We spend time, shooting the shit before we, it's a bunch of good friends and we haven't seen each other in a little bit. So we spend a long time just getting into that. And then we get into the songs and it's like, all right, who wants to present? And you can either present a recorded version of the song or you can present, you can just play it right there, piano, guitar, whatever.
Okay.
And one member of that group plays accordion. And what was I going to say? It's just organized like that. Yeah. So one person will kind of whoever's like hosting it if it's a Zoom thing, but we don't really. It's not really moderated like that. It's there's not like one person sort of somebody might host in their home or on their computer if it's a Zoom.
But it's really
it's just a group of friends,
together then. Okay.
And it's
right,
great.
Cool.
It's really great because you have a reason to. We work hard. Everybody works hard. I work really hard, but I'm also, I suffer from real laziness, and if I don't, do you procrastinate?
Yeah,
definitely, absolutely.
Well, my daughter procrastinates too. She says the good thing about people who procrastinate, we get everything done in a couple of minutes.
Oh, right. Creative procrastination, where you just be like, I don't want to work on this. I'll work on this instead. You have like 6 projects open, and you just procrastinate by working on all the other ones, and they all end up coming up.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty here. Yeah.
But having somebody say we're meeting on Monday at 6, and have this, and here's the prompt, and have something together. The songs aren't always really together by that point. Like sometimes I'll have kind of a dummy lyric here, or I'll have like one verse. I've been like, oh my God, that's tonight, and cobbled something together at like the last half hour before it showed up.
Right.
And then turn that into something later. So you have the seeds of it, and there's such great people that are in that group, and they're so insightful. They don't often give like such constructive criticism in the sense that because usually things are pretty well together, like saying like, well, I'd rather hear it like this or like this. Like everyone's allowed to be their own artist in there. There was one time where I cobbled something together. I had a really great chorus and I didn't have the verses, and I just scrawled the verses together, and my friend Lane said, I love this chorus, and that verse is not it. Not it. And I was like, yeah. You're definitely right, because we're all friends, so we can be honest with each other,
Yeah, that's nice. That's pretty cool. But before we forget, we're going to talk about Common Man. Right.
So Common Man is an abstract of fanfare for the common man. But it's only sung in tune, and it's broken out. The melody is, the assignment was to take a melody and create something different with it, and so like I went for fanfare of the common man, and just wrote out or didn't write it. I played it on guitar. Like I pulled the notes out, and then started to write lyrics that would then inform the movement of those same notes. It's the same notes from Copeland, but it's but it's abstracted rhythmically pretty greatly. And then after over time, then you're like, yeah, actually this kind of sings like this. It's a little, there's a lot of liberty. The chorus is 100% original, but the verse melodies are that. So I just had Common Man, and I was like, let me just riff on this idea, and toy around with something that's fun for that. And it ended up being this song about choosing about the way that we choose identity. And then it's kind of it's kind of similar from what you were just saying about the way that life works, that you had mentioned, that you say yes to some things, and then it just kind of keeps moving, and you move from the choices and the circumstances that you are, and what your identity ends up becoming is something that sometimes you don't choose, you just find yourself in. And
and what your experience is, what happened.
Yeah, and the way that the way that this song frames it, it's has to do with it's a love song, and so it's like when you end up in a relationship, the lyric in the song says, "Then comes you, and all identity fades." It's like it doesn't, like everything I thought everything I thought I needed to be up to this point, in the presence of you, seems irrelevant.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there, and let's have a listen to Common Man. All right. Check it out, everybody.
We got the heat wave abated a little bit. It was a bold choice for me to go out in long sleeves tonight. I'm more of a mosquito it rains. I've drawn your mind and all its fascinations. I am because all of your property sold, and I've been youth, the envy of old. Common man is proud to pull his head out of the clouds and to greet you where you stand on even, steady land. He'll hold your heart in a steady hand, and your pulse will be the fanfare of his common man. The rhythm, and I've been the leg rendered lame. I've been the wild, and I have been tamed. Then comes you, and all identity fades, and love comes true. On the breeze and through blades. This common man is proud to pull his head out of the clouds and to greet you where you'll stand on even, steady land. He'll hold your heart in a steady hand, and your pulse will be the fanfare of this common man.
I've been the bridge he calls home. I have been loved, and I have loved alone. Well, what will last long, long after memory fades? Your quarters spent, have fun in the arcade. This common man is proud to put his head out of the clouds and to greet you where you stand on even, steady land. He'll hold your heart in a steady hand, and your pulse will be the fanfare of this common man. And your pulse will be the fanfare of this common man. Your pulse will be the fanfare of this common man.
So now that we're back with Mike Messer, it's Steve Yusko here. What's so interesting about your explanation or how you put the songs together makes me want to go back and listen to them again to find the deeper meanings and stuff. So it's a real blessing to have you present this to us in this way. But I'm really curious about this. In putting things together in the studio, okay, and you mix a sound, you kind of nail it, okay. How do you weigh out, okay, now I'm going to go and play this in a gig, whether I don't know if you play solo or you always have backing up people with you. How do you balance that out with versions of the song of what you did in full production as to what you might do live? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think about that. I think about it a lot, and I think the freedom of so for many years I was a bar musician. That's what my friend said. Ryan, who I was
where
mentioning.
You cut your teeth.
Yeah, cut my teeth on it. Yeah, my friend wanted me to. He's like, hey, let's do a duo. We'll go play in some bars. We'll have a great time. We'll make a couple $100, and it'll be fine. We ended up immediately working in the Hamptons. We got all these like private party gigs in the Hamptons, so we were suddenly like living large, and we're able to like buy mixers,
more champagne for the band.
Yeah,
please.
exactly. We were able to buy like all this gear and lights and mixers and stuff like that. So we started doing that, and it was so much fun. But the thing is, when you're a bar musician, or when I was a bar musician, I still do it now, but not quite as much. Like especially pre-pandemic, it's just like stacked.
Sure.
I would do 2 gigs a night. Run from Queens to Manhattan to do the thing, but. You're playing the songs, and you're working it out for like the version of it you have in that moment. You're playing with somebody, you're playing alone. You've got a drummer or a cajon player. You're playing acoustic guitar, electric guitar, have a bass player. Whatever the arrangement is, it's like that. And it was playing with these people that were so great at improvisation. They were such great in the moment, players. There was so much freedom. So we would just treat the songs as just material for that experience. So. Yeah, and my friend Phil is this great drummer, and he goes, you've been playing these songs for years, and then you hear it on the radio, you go, oh, that's how that goes. We kind of sort of learned the song, kind of didn't, and it was better for what we were doing because we could just make an experience that can only happen there. Cut to doing original music, and I just figure it's the same thing. These are the songs. Yeah. They have this structure, but we don't need to be. We need to make this moment happen. Musically is the live experience. I think it's like the joy of seeing 2 people figure it out in real time, or 5 people figure it out in real time, is one of the things that I love the most about it. And that's what we would go on crazy limbs, just being like, all right, whatever. The record that just came out. Live and in Two Persons. That's a live performance from the Rockwood Music Hall, and with me and Tom McCaffrey as Adoraborealis, who I'd mentioned earlier, Tom. And he knew the songs because we were working on them in the studio, but we didn't really rehearse the gig. We just knew the songs, and we trusted each other. And we said, all right, let's just do whatever happens. And we got a really – that's what I think is special about that record, and I think is sort of special about what I wanted to capture of what happens for me live, what I perform live, is that immediacy and that the living in the very moment that's happening.
Yeah, and the vibe you get from a live audience. I tell you, I sing the gospel of you got to see people live, particularly in this day and age, particularly with social media, where you have that 30-second scroll of, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, look, they're doing a drum flurry, what have you. That's not the artist. The artist, that's a glimpse of the artist in a moment, which might intrigue you. But I'll always say, you know what? It's particularly because of the music business today, especially for people starting out. They're not making money on streams or whatever, or have these opportunities. They're making it playing live. And a lot. And I went to Rockwood Music Hall. I'm 61 old knucklehead for the first time a couple of weeks ago with my daughter Faith. Went to see the guys, the Coleman brothers, and another guy, Sam Wolf, who's really great. Was on American Idol when he was 17. Yeah, pitch perfect guy. Great music. They churn out songs every 2 weeks. Pretty neat. So I went to Rockwood Music Hall, and it was great. We were in one of the free areas, I guess it was, because when I went in there, I'm like, my bedroom's a little bit bigger than this place, but okay, this is cool.
Yeah, it's probably stage one.
Yeah, stage one. That's where we were. Yeah. And the lighting was really good. Took some great videos, and it was fun. But it's
a great spot. I love Rockwood. That's where we did the record. In stage two.
Now, is that in the basement or is that right next door?
That's the big room. It's the big room.
The paid room.
The right next door to one.
The pay for the music room.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pay for the music room. Yeah, that was people paid for their tickets at the live record, but we went back. I was to say this. We went back to. There's a particular. We're not going to talk about it today, but there's a song that opens that record and opened the concert called "The End of the World," and the recorded version is real slow and deliberate, and it just builds in this really slow way, and the live version has more live energy to it. And we went back after we did that. We went back to the studio and I was like, we have to change the original version because it wasn't released yet. I was like, we're gonna change this. I want it to be more like that. And Tom, my partner in that, he said, stop.
Yeah, right.
That's that version.
Right. You got to know when it's
and this is engineered. This version.
Yeah, you can do a different version.
Yeah, just like let them both be the moment that we wanted. That like have their own individual experiences. And so that's kind of that, you do learn a lot. I think that you write songs, to answer your original question, I think you write songs and then you let them grow up as you play them again and again and again. They start to understand, you start to understand them, they start to understand themselves. Things that worked in one environment when you were by yourself in the, on the edge of your bed, alone, playing that on the guitar is a real different experience than once you put drums in and have a band. And keys can change because just the what works in a really quiet environment didn't really work in this one. So all these things inform the life of like I said, the growing up of a song. And if you're and sometimes it's real quick and sometimes it takes a long time,
So that brings a segue into the next song, both sides of the table, both sides of the song. Tell us a little bit about that.
Both Sides of the Table is the collection of the songs that I was working on that was going to be the Adoraborealis. I should say this. So I was working on a collection of songs, and that was going to be a record. That will still be a record called Scrapbooks and Scar Tissue. Okay. And it's a whole experience about pandemic and divorce and loss, death, and enduring love, the way that we fight to keep love alive. And the flag, and it still will come out, but then we had this great performance that we were like, we have the board tapes of this. We could mix this record and have it out and, have an Adoraborealis record out while we're waiting for all these other singles to find their time. So I was really happy about that decision, but a lot of songs found their premiere in this duo acoustic electric, style that, that was from that record, that is that record, live and in two persons. But, both sides of the table to me it was considered. I'm just say a lot about it. Like to me was considered the flagship song of that whole experience. It states that idea the most clearly. It's the most direct as a gift to, the person that I went through all of that with, my ex-wife Katie. When I wrote it, I couldn't sing it for like a year. Songs
Sure.
I literally couldn't. I could not.
It's too
get through
raw,
it. It was
right?
too raw. Yeah. So it's probably my favorite.
Without further ado, let's listen to Both Sides of the Table. We'll be right back.
Well, alright then. That's it. Where we stand down is now where we sit. The meaning you squeeze from the end of a fable to sing beyond your range, to play chords that are not playable. I love you from both sides of this table. I love you and I always will. My wife, I could do with a little bit of you right now. If I could sup from a bowl of your purebred soul, I think I could know true power. It is the meek who will reap of the spoils of the other one's war. And when the blood that they've shed gets into your head, you get the point of the sabers they bore. I am sure that there will be a day when I will smell, taste, and witness the joys on replay. These stories are written by victors, they say. And when both sides lose love, they'll both work with the clay. I love you, I wish you a life fulfilled. I love you and I always will. My wife, I could do with a little bit you right now. If I could sup from a bowl of your purebred soul, I think I could know true power. It is the meek who will reap of the spoils of the other one's war. And when the blood that they've shed gets into your head, you get the point of the sabers they bore. You get the point of the sabers they bore. You get the point of the sabers they bore.
Hey, everybody. We are back with Mike Messer. We've covered so much ground, but we just hit the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned. You just have such an interesting career and aspect. I'm curious, though, Mike, what artists influenced you to where you are today in music?
I get excited when somebody says like what you said, and you're like, there's so much a rich pastiche of influence that you can hear in Adoraborealis stuff. And for me, like, I just realized that when you're like doing all this stuff and hearing it back, like I said, when I heard my friend Jim's music and was like, oh my God, I'm so influenced by that. I didn't even like think about it. His music, Paul Simon is a huge influence. Shel Silverstein as a poet is the musicality of what he wrote and like the sort of the darkness in, you know, the caustic darkness in what he wrote, especially for like these reading that stuff as a kid, is a big influence. The Beatles, obviously. Jeff Buckley was a massive influence on me, vocally and guitar wise. And Steve Vai I loved his instrumental work, and that led me to Frank Zappa. And Frank Zappa.
Joe's Garage. I played it my first year of college over and over again because the guys next door had it.
Yeah.
I think I could sing every song.
Yeah, me too.
That album.
That's a great gateway record to the rest of his catalog. Like
I'm trying to think the voice he did. The
Central Scrutinizer
when he went.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's got.
This is the Central Scrutinizer.
I'm not sure how I don't
Probably
know how they
sounds
achieved it, but I
terrible
think it's a megaphone. I think it might be a megaphone, but
that's the volumes down,
but,
right? Oh, I got one of those. I
good,
could
right?
do that. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
But when I was really little, I heard show tunes for the first time, and I didn't know what it was. It was such a weird. I heard the chorus line record. I was in summer camp as a little kid, and they had this one counselor played American Beauty, The Grateful Dead, The Doors' Greatest Hits.
All right.
And the soundtrack to a chorus line. And the chorus line was like really weird because you could tell that it was all happening in one room. It sounded sort of distant and weird and
right.
and it was storytelling, and it was super fascinating, and like I like to think that when you're an artist, all you're doing is pulling influence from everywhere and funneling it through your system, so it sounds like you, but it's the flavor of all the things that you love the most. It's like a representation. Your art, your comment on the world. Let me not say that. Let me say it about myself. My comment about the world. What I hope is that it's an honest representation of all the things that I've experienced and put through me. So,
right.
like, I love having varied and tremendous influences. Randy Newman is a big influence as well. But everything. I mean, Dirty Dozen Brass Band and that kind of like that kind of brass band stuff is like is deep in my head. And Michael Hedges was something he was somebody I listened to endlessly, and I never got to play like him. I never got to play like Michael Hedges or Steve Vai, but
right.
But those feelings are in there, and I think they come out honestly.
You know, it's interesting when you were talking about the different albums, that camp that they were playing. This came to mind as you were telling me about it. I used to hate the Doors for no good reason.
Oh yeah.
And this guy Richie Lawle, I still remember, had an 8-track. Many people don't know what an 8-track player is, but we had them in our day. And the Doors
My
album.
friend, by the way, I just have to say this.
Yeah.
My friend Eric, that I spoke about, who has a Dirt Floor Studio in Connecticut, which by the
Right.
way is an amazing place. It's a log cabin in Connecticut.
Invite me up. I'll go.
Gorgeous. Okay. He just installed an 8-track player in his in one of his cars. He's like the guy that is, and he's like, he has all the 8-track
That's
players.
retro,
and,
man.
yeah, he's like, so he soaks it up in a really good way.
So I worked in this deli called Nicholson's, and Richie Lawler would play the Doors' Soft Parade album over. And if you know what an 8-track does, it goes through the whole album and starts all over again. It goes through the whole album to a point it like bled into my brain where I'm like, I kind of like this,
Yeah.
and it's poetry as well. You have Jim Morrison, who's a poet and all that stuff. So I don't know. That's maybe where I like poetry,
Yeah.
So, anyway,
it's great stuff. Like great things we talked about, like being a little kid and absorbing the stuff, and then playing music for kids, and like I said, not having to code switch at all about it, because it's like this is the music. This is what I listened to when I was your age. Not that you have to listen to this music now, but like I listened to music that wasn't really particularly geared towards me, but I saw the stories in the lyrics. I took them very literally. I got real excited about the sounds and the space. Like even like I said, like listening to a chorus line, I really remember that this thing sounded like it was all different than all the other records. It sounded like a bunch of people standing in a very, very, very large room all together doing this thing, and I didn't know anything about that at the time. But these,
but now.
I was gonna say these things hit you. I'm Jewish. I grew up, and when I was young, I heard a lot of Hebrew music and Hebrew melodies. It was really close to Gypsy music, and those kind of minor melodies, that kind of stuff really sticks with me and informs a tremendous amount of what I write now.
Interesting.
So.
And then you played it out in life when you think about listening to a chorus line, and then you're in Hair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of fulfilled. Who knows what that influence was in your life to now you're there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Stuff.
Van Halen too. Van Halen.
Let's talk about.
I can't not mention Van Halen. Okay.
All right, you can't go beyond 25 people of influences because you'll confuse the audience. Beyond Today is the final song you brought to the table. Let's talk about that, and let's have the audience listen.
Beyond Today is the last song is going to be the last song of the song cycle of the there's actually if you listen to both Live and in Two Persons, there's 2 tracks of speaking that are on there. And they're called gabbing. Okay. Gabbing Part 1, gabbing Part 2. It's just like, what I say between songs. And gabbing Part 2 is an explanation of Beyond Today. And basically what it says is that it's at the end of all of the loss, whatever it is that you're going through, what I hope to represent in that song was that it's a tremendously small moment when the dawn comes. It's not a brilliant, flash of light. It's a tiny little crack in the, it's a crack in the ceiling that lets light through, that lets you know that there's a world outside of the space that you've been, whatever it is that you're going
it's a
through.
New day.
The thing that takes you out of it oftentimes is something. It's just the smile of another person. It's like and that's what or the kindness of another person, or just a word, something, and that's what that song is really about. So at the end of this record about loss and finding, this is sort of the ... the ellipses at the end of it that says,
gotcha.
We're all gonna be all right. And again, it talks about it in the presence of another person. It says, "You make me smile." Even though I have, even at the lowest, there's something about you that just gives me a very small spark, and it gives me hope to live.
Wonderful. All right, let's listen to Beyond Today. Be right back after the song.
Give out rivers of wine, in cement shoes of doubt, queuing like soldiers, the guillotine line. There's nothing that I own in this world. There's nothing that's mine. But you make me smile. I am high. The water's clear and I can breathe you. Make me laugh from a thought. I do believe that I can't conceive of a life way, way beyond today. Way, way beyond today. Way, way beyond today. Cause when we give up, our bodies give out, drowning in rivers of wine, in cement shoes of doubt, queuing like soldiers, the guillotine line. There's nothing I own in this world. There's nothing that's mine. But you make me smile. I am high. The water's clear and I can breathe you. Make me laugh from afar. I do believe that I can't conceive of a life way, way beyond today. Way, way beyond today. Way, way beyond today.
Hey, everybody, we're back from that song Beyond Today, and Mike was going to tell us a little bit about how that was recorded.
So the recording of it was what was really intentional. You know, we do a lot of stuff. Like I said, like one song was recorded. The choir was recorded here, and then the guitars were recorded in Connecticut, and then the mastering was happening over here, and this is the vocal was happening wherever. And Beyond Today was one where I wanted to, for one thing, I wanted to challenge myself, to not rely on any studio tricks. Meaning, I didn't want to tune any vocals. I didn't want to put anything to a click. I didn't want to time, pieces or anything. I wanted to see if we could get something down that was as real as it could happen. So, over at Rad Hazard Studios in Brooklyn, Tom, the engineer that I mentioned before, and my friend, we sat across from each other. He played electric guitar. His amp was in the vocal booth, and I played acoustic guitar and sang. And it's only one vocal on that song, as you heard. But so we had a stereo set of microphones on the guitar and a microphone up. So it was 3 mics and one for my voice, and we played the song probably 5 times in a row. And then we did cut it up and just pick out the pieces. I really liked in that verse where this happened, and we just happened to be generally in time to each other the whole to the song. We weren't playing to a click. We weren't playing to any of that, but we were able to piece together like a best of out of all 5 of those versions, and so what you hear is even though it's like from 5 versions, it's all straight and live. It was really important to me to do that for my own my own journey, as to see how honest I could be, and did I need to rely? I don't think there's anything wrong with studio magic. I think it's the best. The studio is an instrument, and it's like anything else, and it's important, and the things that the way things sound in a modern context are so good. So I'm a huge fan of that, but I wanted to know that for the kind of honesty that I wanted to come across in that particular song, I wanted it to be something that had no artifice between the listener and me. So I was like, all right, we got to do this where we can't tune it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, particularly about the click track. And I just happened to see a video with Ringo Starr where he said, we didn't have a click track, when we played. And he goes, if you listen to the songs, there is a change in tempo. It kind of breathes a little bit. So by what I'm hearing is, no pun intended, by removing that click track, you're allowing that movement, I guess, in tempo. But especially if you're playing with people that you've played with before, so you allow the song to breathe. It would be my assumption. Yeah,
that's exactly it. It's the same thing as the live record. In fact, the live version of it sounds almost identical to the recording, except that the one thing we did overdub was a pedal steel guitar. Just here and there, just for touches here and there. But it was meant to be as live an experience as possible, and it was partially for me in my journey to be more real and a better singer in the studio and have more confidence, that I wanted to sort of do it by a trial by fire and say, I can't tune any of these vocals. If I'm, I got to sing this in a way that's
straight
that's
up
album ready. Yeah. And I had to prove to myself that I could do that, which sounds weird after doing it for so many years.
No, right. It's like it's going out without a net. So
yeah.
to speak.
Yeah. I needed to be in that space. And, my friendship with Tom and my chemistry with him made it really easy to do that, but it was a really conscious choice to create a piece of music in that way.
Wow, that's great. Well, I tell you, Mike, one of my monikers at the end of my show is keep your spirits high, be generous with your joy, and let the music take you on a journey. You really did take us on a fabulous journey in this episode, but I think there's more journeys to come. I really would like to have you back. I think there's so much that you really have to offer to the audience out there, along with your music. So I really appreciate your time. A friend of mine told me, Steve, we can account for what we have in the bank and what we own. We can never account for the time we have left. And the fact that you gave me your time is a real blessing, and I really appreciate you spending the time.
100% back at
really
you.
great.
Exactly the same. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. This has been so much fun. And I didn't even have to leave my house. So, but
so let's tell everybody your all your social media connections and your website will be in the description. If you can just repeat it out for me, what your website is.
Adoraborealis on YouTube.
Okay.
Mike Messer Music is my website, MikeMesserMusic.com. Mike Messer Music is one of my Instagrams. Adoraborealis Songs. Just take that S on the end and make it songs. Adoraborealis Songs is also the Adoraborealis Instagram, and those are pretty much the best ones. There's a TikTok, but it's not a lot.
Yeah. So if you look down in the description right below our handsome faces, you'll see all of Mike's links and the links to the Long Island Sound podcast, and great. So until next time, thanks so much, Mike. Good to be with you. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.